You know, to everybody who, who's waking up this morning. I have decided to do my live early in the morning because I don't feel like doing it later tonight. So we gonna go ahead, and the message for today is why men need to lead. And the reason why this came up was because I've noticed, not only have I noticed, I've noticed, but also Yahuwah has been showing me like how important it is for a man to lead the household. Now, when we talk about leading the household, it's praying, you leading in prayer, you leading in reading, you teaching your wife, you loving your wife like the called out assembly. You are doing, hey babe, how you doing? You are doing the things that you need to do. You are not, you're not, taking that time to do wickedness. So it's a reason why men need to lead. And in today's time, we really don't got that. We don't got a lot of men that lead in just the world, and like how we grow up and how they teach you. They teach you that they kind of like put you in a state is that like the women should do everything. And that's just from the government giving giving what is that? Housing. Like they give it more to women. They give housing, EBT. Everything that the government does is to get the man out of the house. So if everything that the government does is to get the man out of the house, what do you think? Don't cry. I love you too. If the government is doing everything to get the man out of the house, what do you think? Like, how do you think that works? That's Satan. You know what I'm saying? That's the enemy. That's the devil. That's Satan. Whichever one you want to call him. He has many names, but he's doing everything he can to get the man out of the house, and it's important that he gets the man out the house for a reason. It's not just he wants the man out the house. Nah, the man has power. The man holds power, and as men, I don't think we realize how much power we really hold, but we hold a lot of power, So it's like if you can get the man out the house, that leaves the woman wide open. I'm not saying women are weak, but they are a lesser vessel than the man, so they're easier to succumb to enemy attacks. They're easier to, get attacked. They're more vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? They're way more vulnerable than men. And I just, Yahuwah had put it on me just so that we can, like, as men, I ain't got many scriptures, but I only got like a few scriptures, so I ain't gonna be long today. But as men, like, we need to learn how to put ourselves in those roles, in those positions, and we need to put ourselves in those positions to succeed. And I don't think as men we put ourselves in enough positions to succeed. We kind of like, just from like how we raised, a lot of men are raised by just women, and when they finally get into like a relationship or a marriage, they don't know how to really lead a woman because there was no father figure in the house to teach them how to lead a woman properly. I can attest this for myself. I've talked to a lot of other brothers that was raised in a house full of women. They can say this. We've all came to that same conclusion that if there's no man in the house, it's a lot harder to know how to lead a woman. It's a lot harder to know what your role is in the marriage. You being raised by women, you know what the woman role is. You know what the woman should be doing, but it's like, what is the man supposed to do? What is the man? What is the man's role? How do And I find that it's harder for men. I ain't gonna say it's harder for them to love women, but I can say for myself, sometimes it is harder for me to express my feelings because, because being raised, as being raised in this world, what they tell the men to do, they tell them, all right, don't show your emotions. Don't, bottle, you got to bottle everything up. You just got to take it on the chin. That's just how this works. Like, it don't make sense. Like, everything, everything shouldn't have to be bottled up or kept on lock and key just to make you look strong. That's not real strength. That's not real strength. Real strength comes in humility. Real strength comes in your submission to the Mashiach or to Yahuwah. Like, that's submission. So we have to realize, as men, that we have to realize as men that it's okay to bear your emotions. Women are supposed to make that safe space for men to bear their emotions. When a woman doesn't make a safe space for a man to show his emotions, the man feels like, I bet it pride takes place. Pride takes place in that, like, the rudiments of this world that continue to teach you that be strong, don't cry, don't show emotions. It's a form of pride. It's a form of pride that just takes place within us to be this strong person that we're supposed to be, or that the world has taught us to be. Also too, you got these movies, that we grew up on. They didn't help. Those movies also didn't help as kids. All them Disney movies, they didn't help. They didn't help, because at the end of the day, if you really think about it, a lot of those men, what were they doing? They was waiting on. They was waiting on the woman to do something, to do some type of miracle, so that they could, what I'm saying? Like, it was just weird. Like everything was just very, woman based. So, and man, as men in Yasharal, we gotta be strong. We gotta be, we gotta be strong. We gotta be, in the. We have to be in the spirit. We have to be in the ruach, like, all the time. Now I even know it's hard. It sometimes, your days get tested. It's hard to, to do that all the time. It's hard to do that all the time. But we got to train ourselves in consistency. Consistency comes from being obedient. Obedience is better than sacrifice. That's where all these things can come from. All these things can stem from, so that you don't put yourself in a position, because as men, we have to, as an older, I'm young, but like, for the men that's younger than me, I have to be an example for them to to be a man. Like, I have to be an example for them. And I don't think we have enough brothers or enough men in this world that show what real masculinity is. Masculinity, it's not just being loud. It's not just being, it's not just being this rah-rah guy, or, that's not real masculinity, or like this alpha male mentality that everybody is subscribing to and wanting to do, because they think that, oh yeah, if I'm showing, this side of me, like, nah, that's not what that is. That's not real masculinity. So yeah, so we gonna get to the scripture, and I'm gonna say this every live. We read from the Sefer, the Millennial Edition. So we read from the Sefer, the Millennial Edition. You can use the regular scriptures, because honestly, they're gonna say the exact same thing that's in this book, just without the names and a couple of Abarat words. And also, I don't use, I don't go by terms God, Lord, Jesus. We subscribe to Yahuwah as the Father, and Yahusha is as the bond, or the Son of the Father. So you will not hear me say God, Lord, Jesus. You will not hear me say that. But I do everything in truth, and in love, and in truth. And so I just always want to start off by saying that, because I don't want people to come in here confused, and I don't want people to ever confuse me with a Christian. I'm not that. I don't subscribe to religion at all. I don't subscribe to, anything that this world has to offer. So that's all I had to say. We go get to the first scripture. Is Genesis 3. We're gonna read Genesis 3 real quick. Genesis 3 real quick. Man. Oh yeah, give me strength for today. Give me the strength for today. Give me the strength. Alright. Genesis 3. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah your Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, has Elohim said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. So, already, same point. Yahuwah gave he gave the commandment. All right, you can eat every tree in this garden except for this one. This one tree you can't eat of, because, lest you die. He already set in stone he already set his commandment. His commandment was already given. So it's already a law. The serpent, being so cunning, knew this, but he didn't go to the man first. Who did he go to? He went to Hawa, or what everybody would know as Eve. But so he went to Hawa first. He went to her first, because I said it's easier to deceive a woman, but there's also a lot of other things that went into it that I can't really explain right now, just because I would need my other book. I would need another book. So I would need another book, and I ain't got that right now. So he went straight to the woman. He didn't go to the man. He didn't go, hey bro, you know what I'm saying? He didn't appear before the man. He appeared before the woman. So all right, we on 4, verse 4. And the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die. For Elohim knows that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and you shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. So that's already, a lot. That's already a lot. You know what I'm saying? He immediately got her in the trap of like, hey, you could be just like him. Your eyes gonna be open if you eat. Why does he, why he don't want you to eat from that tree? You know what I'm saying? Just putting those thoughts, just even planting a seed in the brain, like, why he don't want us to eat from why he don't want me to eat from this tree? You know what I'm saying? But we at verse 6. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her man with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. So, as you can see, what it says, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her man with her. So she gave it to him. She the one called her man over there and said, eat this. You know what I'm saying? He, as the man, should have followed the commandment of Yahuwah. He should have stuck to the commandment of Yahuwah. And I want people to like understand like this. I want y'all to understand like this was a choice on Adam's part. This was his choice to eat of the fruit. You know what I'm saying? It's not like she forced him or nothing. She didn't force him to eat of the tree. He did it of his own sovereign will. Like we know Yahuwah gives us sovereign will. So we know that it was his choice to go ahead to eat of that. It was his choice to take of the fruit, knowing that there's repercussions with that. You know what I'm saying? There's repercussions that come with this. Now, when they sewed on the fig leaves and they knew they was naked, they were naked before. They you know what I'm saying? It shouldn't have been, it should have never got to that point of them knowing like, oh man, we naked, we gotta cover ourselves up. So all right, so it says verse 8, and they heard the voice of Yahuwah walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and the man and his woman hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah amongst the trees of the garden. So I want to stop right there because like it's reminiscent to like how we are as people, like what we do. When we mess up, and when we commit crime, what's the first thing we do when Yahuwah come to us? What we do? We try to hide. We try to hide and go ahead and be in the back, like. It's just like any father. Like, you remember when you got in trouble as a child, when you got in trouble as an adolescent, what'd you do when your parent found out what you did? You tried to hide, or you tried to keep a low profile. Like, hey, I hope you forget. I hope you forget what I did. That's what we did. So that's what they basically tried to do. They tried to hide themselves. So, we can't, obviously. No matter what we do, he sees everything that we do. He knows everything that we do. He knows what we're going to do before we do it. So everything, it's nothing to hide. It's nothing to hide because he already know. All right. Now, verse 9. And Yahuwah Elohim called unto Adam. Who did he call to first? He called to Adam. He didn't call to Hawa or Eve. He didn't call to her first. He didn't call the woman first. He called the man first. And it's going to show later in the scriptures on why the men are first. Like, it's a reason. Men are first. He called to the man. With anything you do, if you are, if you're a man out there, and you're being respectful to other men, or you're trying to ask, like, say, if I'm gonna give an example. Say you meet somebody. Say, all right, you meet this woman, and she tries to she tries to hit you up. Say you meet a woman, she tries to hit you up, and she's married. All right, you don't go talk to that woman by yourself. Nah, you go to the head of the house first. You go to the head of the house. Hey, your wife send me a message. Do I have your permission to speak? Shalom, brother. Do I have your permission to speak? If that man says no, then no, you can't talk to his wife. Mind you, you shouldn't be talking to nobody's wife anyway. Or, y'all make a group chat. All three of y'all make a group chat. But it's just those simple like steps of precautionary it's just those simple steps of respect. There's no respect nowadays when it comes to men. When it comes between men, it's not a lot of respect that's given. Kind of just with the culture that we have nowadays, where it's I take that brother girl just so I can have bragging rights. That's kind of what we subscribe to nowadays. That's that is the culture of today's time. And rappers didn't make it easier to not think like that, but money is the ruler of a lot of things. So if you have bread, it's easier to get things. So, but that's just simple things like that. You don't talk to no woman about herself if she has a head. You talk to the head first. You don't help no woman make no decision if she has a head. You go to the head first. You make them. You talk to the head first so that he can make that decision. Just like Yahuwah went to Adam, and he literally called to him. What does it say? And Yahuwah called unto Adam and said unto him, where are you? He asked, exactly, where are you at? All right. Verse 10. And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, who told you that? Immediately, who told you that? Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree whereof I commanded you that you should not eat? We at Genesis 3 verse 12, y'all. And the man said, the woman whom you gave to be with him, she gave him of the tree, and I did eat. And y'all, verse 13, and Yahuwah said unto the woman, what is this that you have done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And Yahuwah your Lord said unto the serpent, because you have done this, you are cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon your belly you shall go, and dust shall you eat all the days of your existence. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. It shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. And in sorrow you shall bring forth children, and your desire shall be to your man, and he shall rule over you. So even within this time, you're right. Exactly. There's no accountability. Soon as Yahuwah said, all right, soon as Yahuwah called him out, what these things you done, immediately reverted back to the woman. Like, hey, bro, you gave me this woman. Like, nah, fam, you need to lead the woman. You need to be lead this woman so that she's not going astray, so that she's not looking left or right. Because as much as like when you're married, as much as your paths are your paths are separate, your paths are intertwined too. Your paths are on the same path because y'all one. So really your paths was never separate to begin with, but your path is intertwined with each other to walk on the road together. It's easier, it's crazy. It's harder to walk on this narrow road by yourself. It's also, I'm not gonna say it's easier to walk on the narrow road with a partner, but it is a lot better to have that accountability with you. So Adam literally went to Yahuwah, and this was the first act of like no accountability. That was the first act of no accountability. And we wonder why today, people don't take accountability. It was that that was the first instance of somebody showing like, hey, now I'm not taking, hey, I didn't do nothing. It was her, and it's crazy because you were supposed to lead her. You were supposed to lead that woman so that she's not going astray, and you did the exact opposite. So all these different things, we realizing, and I'm just like, I'm taking in. It's just like I'm realizing, like, all right, it's not just, we're stiff-necked people. We are stiff-necked people. But you take that first act of no accountability, then nowadays, after when you read Deuteronomy 28, our people still have a hard time accepting the fact that, hey, we put ourselves in the position that we in today. It wasn't the white man that was just like, yeah, I'm finna just enslave these people. Like, nah, the white man was just fulfilling prophecy. At this point, like, it was just fulfilling prophecy because Yahuwah already said what was gonna happen, So it's like, hey, we gotta take accountability. But what did he do? What did he do to the serpent? He literally cursed the serpent for beguiling the woman. So even in disobedience, he's still gonna make a way out for you. But that doesn't mean that it's not gonna come with repercussions, because every action has a reaction. So what did he do? He increased, like he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. So women nowadays, giving birth is like it's sorrowful. It's not something that's like easy going, Shalom, brother. It's not something that's easy going. It's something that, it was greatly increased. He greatly increased the sorrow. So it's a lot harder. And I think that's why, a lot of people nowadays, they don't really want to have children because, because of that. But these are just, things like that. Having children it's a thing, it's an experience for women. But because we rely so heavily on doctors and medicine, I think that people take away from the true essence of birth. They take away from the true essence of birth. I can only tell from my experiences with my wife and and her giving birth to our sons. I can only tell from my experience. That giving birth is a lot different. It's a lot different in the hospital than not in the hospital. Just saying. All right. Verse 17. And unto Adam he said, because you have hearkened unto the voice of your woman, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake, and sorrow shall you eat of it all the days of your existence. Thorns and thistles shall it bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread till you return unto the ground, for out of it were you taken, for the dust you are, and unto dust shall you return. So before then, there was no death. Before they committed this crime, there was no death. And I want y'all to realize that there was no death. They literally cursed themselves to death. Now, that's why everybody dies at this point. Because before, it was just, they was going to exist in the garden. It was going to exist in the garden forever. So now you greatly shorten your existence with crime. Crime literally shortens your existence. So, like, they were supposed to be incorruptible beings. They were supposed to exist in the garden, and just be there. But because they committed crime, immediately, like Yahuwah said, you eat of this tree, you gonna die. Because now that you know, now you corrupted something that was supposed to be incorruptible. So you already went against the commandment, and now you made something that was incorruptible, you made it corruptible. So you made it more. They made themselves mortal. So, verse 20. Adam called his woman named Hawa, because she was the mother of all existing. Unto Adam also, and to his woman did Yahuwah your Lord make coats of skins and clothe them. And Yahuwah said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand to take also of the tree of existence and eat and exist forever. Therefore Yahuwah sent him forth from the garden of Eden to the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the garden of Eden and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way of the tree of existence. So he locked him out the garden. All right, he locked him out the garden because of their disobedience. So I put that story in there just to show, like, hey, the first disobedience, the first time a man, was supposed to lead his woman, and he didn't. He failed miserably. Dang, what happened? Dang. Oh no, bruh. Oh no, my son can't play with this no more. Anyway, so I put that in to show the first disobedience, the first mistake that a man made by not leading his woman. And this is why I say, this is why I'm saying, like, it's important for man to lead. It's important because, a man and a woman, you know, they're that's Second Corinthians. They're intertwined with one another. They're intertwined with one another. So if they're intertwined with one another, and when you get married, you become one. You're supposed to you're the protection of that vessel. When you take those vows, you say I do. You're the protection over that vessel. Does that make sense, y'all? Yup. All right. So because you take those vows, you're now one. All right, y'all one. Y'all walking on this path together. Y'all doing exactly what y'all supposed to do. You are supposed to guide this vessel to. You're supposed to help guide this vessel to be like the Father, while also you hanging on to Yahusha and allowing them to show you what it is to be, allowing them to show you what you need to do. So all these things coincide with each other. Everything makes sense to, like, he gives us the tools of, like, hey, I come first. You always follow me. You always serve me. I'm more important. He's more important than your wife. He's more important than your children. He always comes first. It's a reason for that. Because that's how you gonna get that. That's how you gonna survive in this time. That's how you gonna survive. That's how everybody survives. Throughout the time, through wars, that's how people survive. They don't just survive through luck and because they just they got they at the right place at the right time. Like, nah, fam. Like, you got to like I said, it's not a lot of men teaching men how to lead men. It's a lot of boys teaching. It's a lot of boys leading boys. Basically, the blind leading the blind. If you get what I'm saying, the blind leading the blind, because you have a group of men that think masculinity is all of this rah stuff, and then you have the other group of men that know that masculinity comes from is more in submission to the Most High. You have those type of men. So we had 1 Corinthians 11, and we're just gonna read 1 through 3. So it says, "Be you followers of me, even as I also am of Mashiach. Now I praise you, brethren, that you remember me in all things and keep the ordinance as I delivered them to you. But I will have you know that the head of every man is Mashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Mashiach is Yahuwah." So it's a hierarchy, man. It's a hierarchy. You got Yahuwah, you got Yahusha, you got man, you got woman, and then you have children. That's how it is. And then you got everything else after that. But Yahuwah, Yahusha, man, woman, children. That's how it is. That's how it always has been. That's how it's gonna be. So that's why the man is more important. Just that scripture alone. That's why men are important to the kingdom. That's why men are. That's why it's important for men to lead women. It's important because it's given. It's what's shown. It's what's supposed to happen. Women are not supposed to lead men. So you have all these independent women talking about I'm an independent woman. I don't need no man. You lying. You know what I'm saying? You lying. I don't care what. I don't care how much you've been through. I don't care how many jobs you work, how much you done took care of yourself. I'm like, that don't matter. That does not matter. At the end of the day, you're gonna need a man. But because of technology, all these different things, they took, like I said, they took the role of the man. The government has taken the role from a man. You got, these social media influencers that are put out there like their existence is so grand because they don't have a man, or they it's just basically girls leading girls astray. I ain't gonna call them women because it's girls. They're girls, That's just, you can't really say they're women because that's not how, according to this book, that's not how a woman should act. So you got the culture today of independency where like I say, I was like, man, y'all need to be, as women, I'm like, y'all need to be fighting the woman who y'all need to be fighting all the women who fought for y'all to have, independent, to be independent. Because now you got to work by the sweat of your brow when it was never for you to work by the sweat of your brow. Like, you know what I'm saying? A woman's body cannot handle stress like a man's body can. It chemically imbalances you. It chemically imbalances women to be, it's chemically imbalancing for women to be under that much stress. We're built for the load. We're built for the load. We're built for the strong. For that strength. We are, because we are the strength. You're right. It's a strong delusion. You know what I'm saying? The whole independence thing is not. It's not real. I don't know how many women I've met that just are not even met. Women I've seen that claim that that being independent is the best thing they ever did, and it wasn't. On the back end, they ended up, having all these issues, and they stressed out about existence itself. So it was never meant to be like that. But you got the government. They want you to do. They want you to basically everything they do is to go against the Most High and His design. You go against His design, and you win against His design. Then and it all starts in the mind. So if you win against His design in your mind, then you're right. Hospital has convinced men that they don't need women. He has convinced everybody that we don't need each other. It's crazy because we do. It's important for a man to have a woman, because man shall not be alone. It's not a good thing for man to be alone. That's why He even gave him Hua. So that's the first instance of like Yahuwah knowing, like, all right, I gotta make, men need women, women need men. It's a given. But that's what I'm saying, that's not true masculinity. Because a lot of brothers out here think that they don't need a woman. And I'm like, shoot, I don't know about you. I love my wife. Y'all tweaking. I can't be around. I can't just be around men. That's weird. All right, we're at Ephesians 5. We're going to read 21 through 29. 21 through 29. Ephesians 5, 21 through 29. Oh, snap. All right. Whoops. All right. 21. Submit yourselves one to another in the fear of the Lord. Women, submit yourselves unto your man as unto Yahuwah. For the man is the head of the woman, even as Mashiach is the head of the called out assembly, and he is the redeemer of the body. So when it says, when it says submit, women, submit yourselves to your man, I ain't talking about like ruling with an iron fist. Because a lot of brothers I see, they take this script and they be like, all right, everything I say is, you got to do what I say, and that's it. Like, no, that's not what we doing here. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, that's not it. We're not ruling with an iron fist. We're not, making, we're not making the woman feel less than. But with everything with everything is done with love and kindness, love and kindness and humbleness and meekness, all things are done through that. So when it comes to women submitting themselves to their husband, it's because, like, hey, your husband is the closest thing to Yahuwah Yahusha. That your husband is the closest thing to the Father. If you have a husband who's teaching you, if you have a husband who's praying for you and doing all these things, yeah. So it's like women, like you like know that you are the help. You're the help. You're supposed to be you're the help me. So it's not that men, men just know what they doing all the time. It's not that we are, because it's not that we're just like, well, a lot of men just think that they know everything, but we don't. I ain't gonna lie, we don't know everything. We don't know everything. And any man that tells you that, hey, whatever I say, it is, whatever I say is law, but you can say that, but if you have a strong woman that is in like communication with the Father, you know, she's gonna be the help. So, because sometimes men tweak. Sometimes, sometimes like we're people. Sometimes we're gonna tweak. We're gonna have misjudgments. So, if I tell my wife like, hey, this is what Yahuwah said to do, she come back and tell me, I don't know. I don't think that's right. That's not what Yahuwah's telling me. Now I'm only saying this because it has happened to me before, where I thought, I bet this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, it should get something different. It is not so that I'm taking automatically her word for it. I'm gonna go back to the Father and ask, like, hey, am I tweaking? Like, am I tweaking, or should I accept the help that's being given? We look at the women as like they shouldn't know anything because we take some of these scriptures, like we take what is that from Paul, where he said women should learn in silence. Like, we take some people, they take those scriptures and make it seem like the woman has no say so at all. Like, nah, the woman, your wife is the help. She's your help. She's like your eyes and ears. She sees things. Sometimes your wife may see things in the far off that you can't see, and vice versa. Sometimes your woman might put herself in a predicament that you already knew, like, hey, it's not gonna work. You know what I'm saying? But that's why the scripture says, women, submit yourselves unto your own men, your own men, not somebody else's man, not somebody else's, not another woman's man, not anybody else. Don't submit yourself to no other man, your own man. Okay. All right. Somebody get pulled up. Anyway, women, submit yourselves unto your own man as unto Yahuwah. So when you submit to your own man, it's like you're submitting to Yahuwah. You're submitting to Yahuwah because Yahuwah made us in his image. So, not saying like worship the man that you're with. I'm not saying to worship the man that you're with, but you worship the creator, you worship the designer who made the man that you are with. You know what I'm saying? You give praise to Yahuwah for the man that he gave you. A lot of people, y'all really look at y'all partners as, a lot of people look at their partners as burdens, like, as issues, and that's not how we're supposed to look at each other. You know what I'm saying? We're not supposed to look at our partners as like, oh, this is a heavy burden that I have to deal with. Like, oh, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I personally don't believe women should work. I think everything needs to be traditional, but they hiked the price so much, not a lot of people think like that nowadays. Everybody think, all right, 50-50. I don't believe that. I don't believe in the 50-50 thing. I believe that a man, when you take on a wife, I believe that you take care of the woman. Why take on a wife if you can't take care of her? It's just, that was just my thought. You know what I'm saying? That's just my thought. All right. 23. For the man is the head of the woman, even as Mashiach is the head of the called out assembly, and he is the redeemer of the body. Therefore, as the called out assembly is subject unto Mashiach, so let the woman be to their own man in everything. Men, love your woman, even as Mashiach also loved the called out assembly, and gave himself for it, that he might be purified and cleansed, and that he might purify and cleanse it with the washing of the water by the word. Like I said right there, like, man, love your woman like Mashiach loved the called out assembly. What did Mashiach do with the called out assembly? He always gave them the word. He always gave them the scripts. He always, cleansed them, because the assembly is like the bridegroom. You're not gonna teach. I mean, you're not gonna treat your woman any type of way, are you? Like, you're not gonna treat your woman any kind of way. You're gonna love her with love and care. Washing of the word is love and care. It's a form of love and care. We look at but we look at this Bible like it's a plague, or like it's a burden to lead people by this book, or even bring correction to ourselves, because the book brings correction. So So as men, we have to want to lead like Mashiach did with the assembly. That was like an example for us to, you know, through Mark, Matthew, Luke, John. What he always did. He always gave them the word, even when they tried to combat what he was doing or what he was saying or his actions. You know, they tried to combat those. You know, sometimes it shows. Sometimes your woman ain't gonna always listen to you. Your woman ain't always gonna listen to you sometimes. But this word is the foundation. So as long as you have the foundation, then it's easier to correct. It's easier to correct. It's easier to always remember, like, that, like, I need to lead. I need to lead my woman the way, you know, Yahuwah, the way Yahuwah says. All right, 27, that he might present it to himself a esteemous called out assembly, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it shall be kadash and without blemish. So ought men to love their women as their own bodies. He that loves his woman loves himself. For no man ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, even as Yahuwah the called out assembly. So we to love our wives like we love ourselves. We take care of someone. Some people, they take so much care of themselves, but it's like they forget. It's like when it comes to their woman, they forget. Like, yeah, and that's because we don't look at, like I say, bro. We don't look at each other. In marriage, so a lot of people don't look at their marriage as one. They don't look at the man and the woman as being one accord. Like, y'all on the same page. That y'all one flesh now. That's you love her like you love yourself. But I think we harp on so much of, like, issues and problems in the marriage that it takes away from us doing our duties. And love is not conditional. Love is supposed to be unconditional. It's supposed to be unconditional work. Just like how Yahuwah always loves us, no matter what we do, no matter what crimes we make. Yahushua always loves us. So we should always love our wives in the same manner, in the same way, is to giving them that that love, because they need it. They need it just like we need it. Okay? They need it just like we need it. So Revelation, all right, we're going, the last scripture is Revelation, and we're just gonna read 5-7. All right. Yeah. And from Yahushua HaMashiach, who is the trustful witness and the firstborn of the dead, and the prince of the kings of the arrest, unto him that loved us and washed us from our crimes in his own blood, and has made us kings and priests unto Elohim and his Father, to him be esteem and dominion forever and ever. So be it. So I put that in there. I put that in there just to say, like, hey, men, we are, y'all are a king and priest. Stop thinking that you gotta follow. Stop thinking that you have to follow a man. Every man is a king and priest in his own home. The first assembly that you need to teach is the people at your own house. You know what I'm saying? That your children, your wife. Those are the first people that you need to teach. You don't have to be under a pastor. A lot of these, because I ain't gonna lie, a lot of these pastors lie in today's time. Anyway, you don't need to be under a pastor. You don't need to be in subjection to a pastor. Read the book for yourself. Read the book for yourself. Be that light in the house. Be like Yahusha in the house first. I'm not saying that every man has to have an assembly, because that's not every man's purpose. It's not every man's duty to have a whole congregation and assembly. They have to be, Yahuwah got to lead you to that. That is something that you have to be led to. You don't just pop up one day and be like, yeah, I'm just gonna make an assembly because I can. Like, nah, that's not what we're doing. But you lead your house first. You lead your house first. That's what you do first. So a lot of men, like I say, men need to lead in today's time. because men are not leading in today's time. The women are leading in today's time. And it's prevalent. It's prevalent. It's like, dang, like what can we do to not be like this? But women lead in today's time, and that's not it. I ain't even gonna lie to you. It's not what needs to be happening. The men need to be leading, because the man is the strength of the house. The man is the head of the strength of the assembly, like how Yahuwah is the strength of the assembly, like how Yahusha showed forth strength in the assembly. We need to be. It's not a lot, like I keep saying, it's not a lot of men that teach men what real masculinity is, or how to even